Chancellor Angela Merkel, the real force behind the continuation of EU, clinched a fourth term in Germany's election on Sunday, but her victory was clouded by the hard right of the party winning its first seats in parliament. Merkel, who after 12 years in power held a double-digit lead for most of the campaign, scored around 33% of the vote with her Conservative Christian Union (CDU/CSU) bloc, according to exit polls. The exit poll made her and her supporters very happy. Its nearest rivals, the Social Democrats and their candidate Martin Schulz, came in a distant second, with a post-war record low 20 to 21%. Supporters gathered at the party headquarters in Berlin cried out with joy as public television reported the outcome, many joining in a chorus of the German national anthem. But in a bombshell for the German establishment, the anti-Islam, anti-immigration Alternative for Germany, AfD, captured around 13%, making it the country's third biggest political force. The four-year-old nationalist party with links to the far-right French National Front and Britain's UKIP has been shunned by Germany's mainstream. While the likelihood of the AfD winning seats was clear for months, commentators called its strong showing a watershed moment in the history of the German Republic. It is now headed for the opposition benches of the Bundestag lower house, dramatically boosting its visibility and state financing. Alarmed by the prospect of what Foreign Minister Sigmar Gabriel branded real Nazis entering the Bundestag for the first time since World War II, the candidates had used their final days of campaigning to implore voters to reject the populists. Germans elected a splintered parliament reflecting an electorate torn between a high degree of satisfaction with Merkel and a desire for change after more than a decade of her leadership. Another three parties cleared the 5% hurdle to be represented in parliament, the Liberal Free Democrats at around 10% and the anti-capitalist Left and ecologist Greens, both at about 9%. As Merkel failed to secure a ruling majority on her own and with the dejected SPD ruling out another right-left grand coalition with her, the process of coalition building was shaping up to be a thorny, potentially months-long process. Merkel, 63, whose campaign events were regularly disrupted by jeering AfD supporters, said in her final stump speech in the southern city of Munich that the future of Germany will definitely not be built with whistles and hollers. Merkel, often called the most powerful woman on the global stage, ran on her record as a steady pair of hands in a turbulent world, warning voters not to indulge in experiments. Merkel's reassuring message of stability and prosperity resonated in graying Germany, where more than half of the 61 million voters are aged 52 or older. Her popularity had largely recovered from the influx since 2015 of more than 1 million mostly Muslim migrants and refugees, half of them from war-torn Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. But the AfD was able to capitalize on a wellspring of anger over the asylum issue during what was criticized as a largely lackluster campaign bereft of real clashes among the main contenders. The party has made breaking taboos its trademark. Galland has called for Germans to shed their guilt over 2 world wars and the Holocaust and to take pride in their veterans. He has also suggested that Germany's Integration Commissioner Aydin Özogs, who has Turkish roots, should be disposed of in Anatolia. Law student Sabine Meyer dismissed the AfD as too extreme as she voted in Berlin. But she also criticized the media for lavishly covering the most outrageous comments by the upstart party. They aren't all fascists, she said. The SPD said its catastrophic result would lead it to seek a stint in opposition to rekindle its fighting spirit. This is a difficult and bitter day for German social democracy, a grim-faced Schulz, a former European Parliament chief, told reporters, adding that he hoped to remain party leader. This would leave Merkel in need of new coalition partners, possibly the pro-business Free Democrats, who staged a comeback after crashing out of parliament 4 years ago. In theory they could join forces with the left-leaning Greens, who, however, starkly differ from the FDP on issues from climate change to migration policy. Schulz, 61, struggled to gain traction with his calls for a more socially just Germany at a time when the economy is humming and employment is at a record low. The SPD also found it hard to shine after 4 years as the junior partner in Merkel's left-right Grand Coalition, marked by broad agreement on major issues, from foreign policy to migration. In the final stretch, the more outspoken Schulz told voters to reject Merkel's sleeping pill politics and vote against another,